en un lugar de La Mancha, de cuyo nombre no quiero acordarme.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good
Aujourd'hui,
fortune
maman est morte. Ou peut-être hier, je ne sais pas.
Welcome to the Spoken World podcast. I'm Christopher Keneally. Children's content is an important and growing segment of global audio publishing. In Madrid at Parix Audio Day 2025, Juliana Ruedo spoke with Stephanie Simonin of Bayard Audio and Kiyeun Baek from Yoto about their approaches to innovative audiobook production and content development for kids and teens. French children's publisher Bayard Jeunesse brings alive characters beloved from its enduring collection of magazines and books. And Yoto delivers a screen-free audiobook experience that lets children focus their attention and imagination. The Spoken World is featuring recordings of presentations and discussions from the Parix Audio Day conference, which brought 250 professionals and 40 speakers from 10 different countries together in Madrid to consider the current state and the near future of audiobooks. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to the Spoken World podcast so you won't miss a single edition of the program.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having us here. We are very happy to have the possibility to talk about children's audio productions. It's a great change because a few years ago we weren't even able to talk about children's production. So I'm here representing Small Worder because Carla wasn't able to come. Small Worder is a children's audio consultancy and production company. And we are here to talk about the possibilities and how to create new readers into the audio ecosystem. And here with me, I'm going to quickly present our two speakers. Stephanie Simonin is the Sales and Marketing Director at Bayard Jeunesse Audio, part of Bayard Group, a leading French media company specializing in children's content. With 20 years at Bayard, she has played a key role in marketing, licensing, and digital business development, both in France and international. And Bayard Jeunesse has been a pioneer in kids audio and is now accelerating content creation and business expansion through B2B and B2C strategies. They operate Bayam, a multi-format kids platform, co-own the Merlin audio speaker with Radio France, and recently launched Mon Cube Astrois. And Kiyeun Baek is head of content internationally at Yoto, an interactive audio platform that makes carefully connected audio players that kids control without using a screen. That's very important. Part of a global team, she is responsible for the acquisition and production of Spanish and French licenses. And she has a library of Yoto has a library of over 1,200 titles, including children's literature, IPs, music, and education. And before Yoto, she was the head of the rights department at DK, a PRH imprint, where she oversaw a team responsible for licensing, credit, and exports of a list of 200 titles in 63 languages. So we have two amazing women that know about audio and are willing to explain what are the opportunities that you publishers have to enter this exciting market that it's growing and has a lot of possibilities now.
Hola a todo el mundo, estoy muy encantada de estar aquí.
Hello everyone, I'm delighted to be here.
Presenting Bayard Jeunesse Audio. So just to introduce a little bit Bayard Jeunesse. So we're the leading French media company for children. Our core business historically is magazines, but we also are the second largest publisher for children in France and the first publisher for graphic novels. We've been expanding into many, many domains, books, activities, games, and also a lot in digital. So we have an animation department doing TV animation. We have a platform, Bayam, doing videos, interactive games, and a lot of audio. And we do live events. So basically, working in many different formats is something which has become very natural for us. And when I say we, it's both the board and the people who work, but also the talents we work with. And that's very important because when an author or an illustrator comes to Bayard, they know that potentially what they've created can become maybe an audiobook, maybe a podcast, maybe an animation series, maybe a game. And that's very important to have talented people come and want to work with you. So, and then we're very lucky that we can build our audiobook catalog from all of these different book series, animation series, and we really see that one format reinforces the other. Today we have a catalog of about 1,400 titles, short titles. A lot of our kids' titles are less than 1 hour, so it's a very different story from. Oh, here it is. So that gives you an idea of the Bayard Jeunesse ecosystem. So yeah, 1,400 audiobook titles and several leading podcasts. And we have, it's hard when you accumulate talking about streams and downloads, how you put them all together. But overall, in the last 3 years, we had more than 100 million streams and downloads of our audiobook titles for children. And that's doubled in the last year. So I think we all mention about children as a growing publishing audio, and it's true. We see it, we definitely see it. I don't know who has the, no? How we go to the next one? Yeah, so we were lucky at Bayard because a lot of people talked about how technology and new distribution patterns really helped to increase the creation. We were lucky to be able to start 30 years ago on our subscription reader base. All our reading magazines came with cassettes and then CDs and now digital. So the habit of our readers to listen to audio comes back a long time, and we as a company have been able to learn a lot from audio producing. When the players arrived, whether the speakers or the digital platforms, we moved audio from not being just a companion to the magazines, but also to being a format in itself. And that's why we decided to create our own in-house department. And I think there are two important milestones in the company for audio for us. Was the moment we created a dedicated team, because when you're talking about children's audio, and especially under 12s, there's two things that are very different from teens or young adults or adults audio, is that they don't have smartphones yet, although it's coming down. So the device question is a real issue. And you're starting with a print version, which is usually illustrated. So if you take that piece out, it's a totally different story. So how do you cope with that? So when we created our internal team, we really recruited audio producers. And when I say that, our work today is probably closer to what we do in audiovisual, in the sense that we're basing our audio on the book series, but we're really adapting. We're writing new scripts, we're finding new concepts around the audio, because you can't just take out the illustrations and make as if it was the same. And also, although we still have stories as a large part of our catalog, we wanted to, as a publisher doing non-fiction, graphic novels, we didn't want to limitate ourselves to just doing stories, well-narrated stories, however great that is as well. So we wanted to go into edutainment and a lot of other things. So then again, you don't do non-fiction. If you take away all the illustrations, it doesn't work. So we had to find new ways of making audio and thinking of audio more as a native format, even if it's based on our book series. So just to give you a little overview, we do character series, we do stories, we do edutainment, we even do audio comics. What I call audio comics is the adaptation into audio of multicast graphic novels. Again, totally rewritten scripts. We do activities in the form of quests where you actually need a notebook. You're listening to the audio, but you're taking notes to try and resolve the quest. So yeah, there's many opportunities to do great content creation, but I think the one thing you have to have in mind is if you're working for under 12s and not pure narration, it's more than just finding the good narrator. You really need to think editorially as audio first. It's me now doing that. And then lastly, we've been into podcasting as well. We have a strong news podcast with Radio France, which is the largest public sector radio. And I just wanted to finish also by an example. When you're in the kids space, again, I said they don't have smartphones. When you think of distribution, you've got to really think in a creative way and imagine that your distribution is much wider than the typical platforms that we would think of when we're doing adult. So yes, it's very important to be on Audible, Spotify, Storytel, Overdrive, because that's where the parents are, and that's where they're going to discover your kids' audio. So very important to be there as well. I'm not undermining it at all. But you also have to think of other ways of reaching kids. So we're lucky in Bayard to have our own B2C channel. So we created a kids speaker with Radio France called Merlin, which is here, the portable one. We have our own digital platform called Bayam, and we've developed an audio-only mode, which means that if parents don't want kids to do videos or interactive games, which they like to do at certain times of the day, but if they want a quiet moment, they can put it in audio-only mode. We also wanted to be available in retail, so we created these little story cubes, which work with an NFC chip and that are compatible with all phones. So just to say, you have to be very creative about how you think about the audio space for children. And we work a lot with B2B partners as well. So we have Little Brown Bear Yoto cards, we have Little Brown Bear Yoto figurines, but we also work a lot with the toy sector. For example, we have that little plush toy, Little Brown Bear. Actually, we have two. And if you press on a button, it reads aloud stories of Little Brown Bear. So working a lot with the game industry as well, just to give you a few examples. So I think when you're working with children, think that they don't have smartphones. It's important that they are autonomous with listening to stories. So that opens up a wide space of distribution. Thank you.
Thank you.
C'est quel bouton, ça?
À droite.
Summarizing that, for you all publishers here have the view that audio for children can travel in many different ways, not just a fixed platform, and that's it. And now, Kiyeun, if you want to tell us a little bit more about Yoto.
And bravo to Stephanie for a screen-free presentation.
Thank you, Kiyeun.
I'm delighted to be here in such good company, and it's been so interesting so far. I think by this point, the answer to this question, if it's a question, is clear to all of us. But just to make sure no one lives today with any doubt, 1 in 2 children enjoy listening to stories, compared to 2 in 5 who enjoy reading. As we heard earlier in the morning, also it skews more male in the children area as well, which, as you know, boys are traditionally slightly more reluctant to read than girls. And lastly, 52% of children who enjoy listening to stories also enjoy reading, compared to 38% who don't listen to stories. So platforms like Storytel, Audible, and Spotify have made it so much easier and pleasurable to listen to audiobooks. But what about children, the most demanding of customers? Yoto is an audio platform for children, and it materializes in 2 players, the big version and the small version. Children as young as 2 years old can take a card, insert it, and start playing a story. It's screen-free, and it's parent-free, because children don't need to ask their parents for their mobile phones or their devices. They can also choose what they want to listen to, and it's as easy as picking a book from the shelf. Most of the cards have the same cover as the paper book, which often the child already has in their personal library. And parents and grandparents also often have their own memories attached to these covers. As we have heard throughout today, listening to audio is also a companion activity for children. We are finding that children listen to stories while eating their merienda, while playing, while drawing, after their parents have read their bedtime story. So this is how Yoto is helping ignite a love of storytelling and reading with the companionship of publishers and becoming the soundtrack of childhood for children in over 192 countries. Thank you.
Thank you both very much for giving us different insights on how to work with children content. I would like to speak a little bit more of the important part of how can we create, at the end, new readers, and why do publishers need to embrace this category within the different perspectives of your brands, for example?
Yeah, well, I think we already answered quite a bit of that, but so why embrace? I think we've seen that parents are growing listeners, even though, still in France it's 1 out of 3, States 1 out of 2, but we can really see that trend of parents liking audio growing, and so they're obviously going to want their children to be also being accessible to audio. And if you look at economic trends as well, that the book industry overall is maybe plus 2%, and the audio growth is plus 25%. So it does make sense to look at that. We also see a lot of audio benefits for children, and how audio benefits reading and reading benefits audio. And the more, I think if we as publishers look at media in general and not just publishing, what we see is that they're spending, kids, more and more time on digital, whether it's videos, interactive games. And I think it's important for storytelling that we, reading and audio together, find a space where kids can have a more quiet time, more immersive time, and a screen-free time as well. So for all these qualitative and economic reasons, I think it really makes sense to embrace audio. It's definitely an investment to begin with, so you have to be patient, and it's a lot of trial and errors, but it's really fun.
And also from a platform point of view, what's interesting, aside from the fact that it removes an effort barrier for reluctant readers, so that they get a taste of great storytelling before putting the effort. It's really interesting. I heard earlier we were talking about the backlist. So the backlist for Yoto is very successful. So it's not as novelty, new title driven, and that's a part of the great interest for publishers.
Yeah. And then I think you said how you do it?
No, I was going to say that, how this sums up in creating, at the end, new readers that then could travel to the paper, for example.
Yeah. As a lot of us have pointed out, I think it's the love of stories that comes out, and we see that people who hadn't heard of our print IPs for a long time because are now listening to them and going back to print. But then again, I want to stress again that I do think it's important to see the audio format as a format in itself. And again, I think we're competing with video a lot with children and interactive games. So when we create audio content, we most often go beyond just reading the story, also because of the illustrations, and we really put the child with a very special space in the audio. And I think from that we've learned a lot from podcasting as well. Because in a podcast you have a host that welcomes you, that also the length of the episodes, that's how long a child can concentrate, maybe 10, 20 minutes. So if you have a 2-hour story, chapter story, usually kids will read a chapter, but where do you stop in the audio? So we try and think of it initially when we build the concept as how can it become an episode, maybe a bit like podcasting. So I think the podcast has really influenced how we do audiobooks as well. just to give you an example, like we're just launching a series called Nino the Tiny Dino, and it was just a story. And now you have Nino the Tiny Dino welcoming the child. So he's saying, "Hi, I'm Nino the..." And then there's a little song, because kids like, rituals. Is that how you say in English? Yeah. So you always have a little song that gets the kid focused on the... Then there's the story, and then Nino the Tiny Dino comes back at the end of the story, and it's usually related to an emotion. And they'll come back on the emotions, and Nina will even ask the kids, "Oh, how are you feeling today?" So it's much more engaging, much more interactive, and it's still audio. I mean, we're not. So yeah, I think engaging children in audio, like you would do in reading with great narratives, is really important.
Great. And there's one thing that I think it's very, very important when you think about audio for children: quality. I think it's very, very important. So for you, which elements cannot be missed out when you think about producing audio for children?
I think just the way we talk about audio, like in publishing, we never talk just about publishing. You would talk about age groups. You would talk about... So I think age appropriateness is something really important, and people tend to think, oh, because it's audio, there's not the barrier of reading. But the level of vocabulary, the rhythm, the level of sound design, like for younger kids, sound design needs to be supportive, not distractive of the text, because they're still very young readers, listeners. And then as you grow in age, maybe you don't need sound design, or it has to be more very immersive. But so I think age appropriateness is very important. Again, engaging the child, making sure the attention, the concentration can be there long enough is very important.
And from a platform point of view, I would say ruthless curation. So if friction dissuades adults from listening to audiobooks, it's even more important for children. So making sure that if there's no use in creating a 1-hour audiobook for a child that is 2 years old and has an attention span of maybe 5 minutes. So really keeping those types of things in mind.
Well, that's about it. Our time is up. And thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, Parix, for the invitation.
Thank you.
That's all for now. Our producer is Jeremy Brisky of Burst Marketing, and Rob Simon is our executive producer. The Spoken World covers the latest news in the global audiobook market and features exclusive interviews with audio industry leaders, analysts, and innovators. Learn more at spokenworld.media and subscribe on all major podcast and streaming platforms. I'm Christopher Keneally. Join me again soon on The Spoken World.